Hi, I'm Caroline Howard, a biblical counselor and certified life breakthrough coach.
And I'm Chris Oneth, marriage and family therapist and executive director of Downey Park Counseling Associates.
Welcome to Our Next Question, where we attempt to answer the questions of life through conversations in psychology and Christianity.
Remember, this is a place of discovery and definitely not the final answer. Okay.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
Part due.
So I just want to, you know what? So people know, I mean, I'm sure they already know. For those who are watching and not just listening, we record more than one episode at a time. We're busy people. We can't come in here every single.
To do this.
What are you doing with the mic?
I don't want to. There's been sound issues with me.
There's issues with me too.
Because I talk over here and I shouldn't.
Okay.
Can I explain what's going on with my nose? Hi.
I actually would love for you to explain what's
because
going
people
on.
I've explained it to people. I've forgotten about it and not explained to people.
Let me finish though really quick. So we do record more. So we're in the same clothes. We're not going to change between episodes. Today we're doing 3 episodes with this dual part of masculinity.
Yes.
And then another one. So we do have other changes of clothes.
I'm on a budget.
We're on a budget. So we were like, hey, that looks great on camera. I'm going to wear it every time.
Every single time.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Yes. So what's going on with your nose?
So I had this precancerous thing. Well, this sore in my nose that I was avoiding. And my wife kept saying, go to the doctor. And because I'm a dude, I'm like, doctor. And then there were other more important things for me to do. So finally I went to the doctor and they were like, yeah, it's precancerous. I'm like, ugh. So they said we can, shave off half your nose like Skeletor.
Oh my gosh.
Or, and that might leave a scar. Or you can have this here ointment and it'll kill off the cancer. Right. It'll kill off
look, I was doing it I've been working on this on my leg.
All right. So they said it'll kill off the cancer, but I didn't realize it'll also kill off my nose. So that's what's been happening. But apparently, from what I've been hearing from people, the feedback I've been getting is that after it's all said and done, my nose is going to be amazing. It's like a chemical peel.
It is. I had to do a cancer spot on my chest one time with it. And I think I was supposed to do it for 2 weeks. And after 1 week, I was like, I can almost see bone. It's eating so far in. And so I was like, I think I'm going to stop using this cream. But so now I have it. So now I'll get little spots and I'll be like, I'm grabbing my, what do you do with your, this is why you have mic issues.
This is why.
You're
how
moving
is
your
it? Is it
mic.
still okay? I know.
Poor Caleb over there.
I've got
He's like,
control things.
I'm not a miracle worker. I can only do so much.
I know.
Man.
This guy.
Okay. So last week.
Yes.
Well, last week for them who are listening, but just an hour ago for us, we talked about Caleb and the ministry that he just did going to camp.
Right.
You and your beautiful wife, Mel, are getting ready to do something big too.
Wow. Yes, we're going to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And now...
Which is why we're recording so many episodes today.
We are. We're going to be jet setting across the globe. Well, apparently we get to go to Vietnam where the high is 100 and the low at 3 o'clock in the morning is 82.
Oh, that sounds like here right now.
And so, and it's raining. So, So I would love to have a chance to get on a little motorcycle and tool around Vietnam. But from what I understand, I need to be able to walk through streets first because it's completely an utterly different rule system.
Okay.
Than we have here in the States.
They don't have rules, right?
Well, let's just put it this way. It's not that they don't have rules. They're just very different than here in the States. Okay. Here, tends to be more structure. And I think there it's, if I'm getting this right, there's 2 different ways of learning. There's Kettering and there's Wissenschaft. This is a German thing. I just heard this from a book I read. Okay. And Kettering is the experience of experiential learning. Okay. And Wissenschaft is like book learning. So here in the United States, we have traffic signals, we have rules that we go by, and so that's very Wissenschaft. It's very like these are the structured rules of the road, and essentially everybody, not everybody, but most everybody adheres to them, and that's why we speed down the freeway at 65 miles an hour, and the only thing separating us are little white lines. I imagine, and this is the whole way I'm framing it, whether it's true or not, is that in Vietnam and India and stuff like that, it's very Kettering, in where you just kind of get a feel for what happens.
Okay.
And you move along with it.
I'm more about that kind of learning.
Well, I'm just going to chum up to some Vietnamese like real close, and wherever they go, I will follow suit. Okay. They'll probably be like, get away from me. But
I know, right? You guys are doing some ministry work there while you're there, though, right?
Yes, okay. I am teaching English.
That's cool. While you're reading a German book, are you going to throw some of your German in there?
Yeah, right. That's right. It's a German. Not to make fun of the German people.
Thank you, because I am half German.
I think so am I.
You think? You don't know?
Well, it's Dutch. It's the Pennsylvania Dutch.
I know for a fact that I'm half German. My dad was full-blooded German.
That is okay.
And I make a killer schnitzel.
Schnitzel. So my 2 dogs are named Hans and Franz because they are German Shepherd and Husky. And so every time I'm talking to them, they are like, I'm like, doggies, you are so cute, doggies. Come here.
That is not how you talk to him.
Is that not German? Okay.
No, it is German, but I've seen you and Mel talk to the dogs, and you're like, hello, little babies. Oh, my gosh, you guys are so cute. How are you doing?
Well, they are.
And I'm just like, oh,
and we swore we wouldn't get dogs for a long time, but they showed up. Okay, so we left off on discussing a bit of toxic masculinity, and I want to continue on with that sort of kind of. John, we talked about Spider-Man. The moment of what is masculinity? We talked about the definition. We talked about there being cultural aspects to masculinity. The want is to say it's our culture, United States culture of masculinity, but honestly, the idea of masculinity is cross-culture, right? And it's also over time, so it's pan-historical. Even in the Bible, where it talks about show yourself a man, right? It is referring to a concept that is deep within our DNA, right? And so Carolina talked about not only the 4 parts of self, but the 3 different relationships and how women tend to, in the 3 relationships, women tend to lean toward relational things. Men tend to lean toward environmental and wanting to control the aspects of that. Men, if they're not comfortable, will sometimes be more comfortable going off into the garage and twisting wires instead of like, oh my gosh, I have to listen to my wife and what she thinks and feels.
Yeah. So let me start here, if it's okay. I totally just lost my thought.
Almost.
Let's start right there where Caroline has no thought. It's a woman thing, it's all my femininity. Okay, when did it become, when was this divide of emotions aren't manly and men can't do emotions? And I say that because clearly emotions are talked about all throughout the Bible.
Yes, David in the Psalms.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
Jesus wept.
Oh, absolutely.
I love it when men come and like into my office and they're like, well, real men don't cry. And I'm like, so you're saying Jesus isn't a real man. You really want to go there?
Do you get him to cry? Because that's my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Do we say that on camera?
Oopsie, I've already said too much. Well, no, I say that's my favorite because
they finally are feeling.
It is. I would say men do have lots of feelings. There's anger, frustration.
Yeah, but what is that anger? That anger is what is covering all the feelings.
No, okay, yes. Down. For the most part, yes, but not all the time. Sometimes anger is like, no, this is really wrong. Yeah. But here's my take on that.
Okay.
I think for men, it's important that emotion may not be the first step. So
I am totally okay with that, and I agree with that. But they don't even.
No, you're right.
Most of them don't even use it as a step.
So again, whatever strength we have, and there are masculine strengths that we have,
and I'm going to agree with that.
Yes, there are also weaknesses with that strength. So if my strength is, we got to get the job done, and this tragic thing just happened. We got to keep moving. We got to get to it. If I don't go back and visit that tragic thing, then I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But in the moment, that sort of cutoff is needed.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay.
So this kind of reminds me of, I think it was in episode 1, one thing that you said is, every unhealthy behavior is an extreme of a healthy behavior, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that ties in a lot with toxic masculinity, and things are just pushed too far.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And so in toxic masculinity, and a funny thing is when there's no real weapons to grab onto, that's just the nearest thing. Stop acting like a woman. It's like, well,
okay. So see, now I'm getting all fired up again. Okay, because here's the thing, and this might be a really wrong way to think or say that. I don't know. Let's just kind of dissect this.
All right.
Because the video that we both watched, I made you watch it. It's called The Mask You Live In. It is on YouTube. Easy to find. I do recommend it. I'm not going to say that everything is great, but there's a lot to get out of it.
Fair enough.
There's one guy who was like, I always wanted to be in theater, but then you got made fun of. And so then I went to sports, but then I realized, it was okay to be in theater.
Right.
Which I love that you guys, last time you guys sang show tunes with me. One time I'll get you to do it while we're recording. Okay. So here's my question, or here's my thought is when men start to connect with the other two parts of the four parts, the spiritual and emotional, they tend to that's when men start making fun of them. Other men start making fun of them or say, you're acting like a girl, you're a sissy, man up, and all of that stuff. When really they're just getting in touch with the other side of themselves that they should be in touch with.
Sure.
And so and they're learning that behavior from when kids do that to kids, that's a learned behavior.
Oh, I've heard coaches like the video says, I've heard coaches,
dads,
like say ridiculous things.
Yes.
And
And so it's a learned behavior. So then they're doing that to others. I'm trying to think of like the best way to word this. So then could this be something that then leads these little boys to end up being gay? Because they're being called a sissy because they're becoming that other touch, or you're acting like a woman, but that feels right because it is right to get in touch with that.
Oh, I see.
And
so that must mean I'm gay.
So that must mean I'm gay.
So if I'm emotional, that must mean I'm gay. Well, okay.
I mean, I know that's like a long stretch, but
that is a whole different topic.
know.
I would say there's a bunch of different factors to the kind of, could you say, origins of homosexuality and the reasons for homosexuality. There is a bunch of different categories.
I get that. I'm just talking the form of toxic masculinity.
So I think for now, even like I said in the last episode, the shadow proves the sunshine. So if they're gonna make fun of it, what happens there is a discomfort with it. We tend to make fun of stuff we're uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
So
or stuff we don't like, stuff we don't like in ourselves.
Yeah. Yes. And I talked, I don't know, in some past episode about, somewhere along 6, 7, 8 years old, a boy will sense his emotional behavior and not want that to dictate him. And so he becomes potentially disdainful of that and attempts to push it down and does.
Yeah.
And then when he sees that in others, he will be like, come on, stop being such. Now, right. I love UFC. I love the show The Ultimate Fighter. And without exception, I would say almost without exception, I'm sure there is exception, but I would say 99 times out of 10. There you go.
99 out of 10.
When one of these fighters loses, they break down crying. That is the first thing they do. Okay. And then the second thing they do is, I told myself I wouldn't cry. I look at other guys and see they're being sissies and all this other stuff, and they're crying. It's like, dude, it's okay. Right? Here's to me the manly thing. To me, this is how I would frame manliness. I love show tunes. I love theater, right? And if someone says that's like sissy or girly, I'd be like, I know it isn't. I like it. So as an independent man, self-reliant, you're not going to tell me what's girly and what's not girly.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Think of me only when you say goodbye.
It's a good one. That's a good one. We're just going to sing the way through it. Yeah. Okay. Because you said like what manliness is or manhood is. So I was listening to, as I'm studying for this today, a podcast called Man Enough. And Gabor Mate, which I was shocked that you don't know who Gabor Mate is.
I can't know everything, Caroline.
I thought you would. So Gabor Mate is amazing. He's a doctor. I don't know that he's a doctor of psychiatry. I can't remember what he's a doctor of, but he has done extensive study on addictions, on trauma. He was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 50.
Right on.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's amazing. His books are amazing. Podcasts are amazing. Anyway, so this was called, the show was called Man Enough. And at the end they said, hey, tell us what is man enough? And I love what he said, because he said, man enough is being a human being in connection with your authentic self in the present moment.
Okay.
And so why can't we define manhood as that? Why does it have to be defined as I can kick someone's ass?
So, okay. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that definition.
Okay.
I wouldn't define manhood as I can kick someone's ass.
Okay.
I would much rather define it as I can kick ass. In other words, I listen, I may not know all the things I need to know moving forward, but I am going to move forward. And I know through let's see, some of these traits: courage, loyalty, industry, resiliency, resolution, personal responsibility, self-reliance, integrity, and sacrifice, I can sure as heck figure it out.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I'll go back to that difference, because the difference between potentially a woman in femininity and a masculine in masculinity. Her first step may be the emotion.
Right.
And needing to connect with that and share with that.
Right.
That is not a man's first step. His first step is, what are we going to do about it? And then the necessity of him going back and processing, okay, this is my feelings about it and everything else. Now, even part of masculinity and femininity, they can chafe against each other. Right. And so you have these dudes saying, like, oh, stop being a woman. But then what they don't realize is there's a lot of women who are fearful of masculine things. So,
like, an example.
Boy, I think about when my boys were younger, and that we were at someone's house, and they're playing in the pool. And listen, I raised three boys. My daughter's oldest, and then I have three boys. And to this day, they are, 28.
You better get it right.
25 and 22.
Okay.
To this day, when they walk down the street together, they will fight each other. It's their way of being affectionate.
Right.
There's an action to it. There's activity to it.
Right.
I don't see that among my women friends.
No, we'll hold hands and skip.
No, absolutely. You just went out to dinner with my wife and
Yes.
Another dear friend.
Yes.
Right? And you get together and you talk. Men tend to
and
be
we give
more
each other hugs,
active, and they do.
Yeah.
Right? Again, that's not exclusive to the gender. Doesn't mean women won't do.
Right.
But men's first step is to say, do something about this. Now, how is that? You say, how is that? So back in the day, went to this person's house. The boys are wrestling in the pool with her son and all this other stuff, and she was scared of that. Mm-hmm. She was like, gosh, do you have to be so violent? And it was a crazy thing, because I bought my boys boxing gloves. Like, I didn't buy them boxing gloves saying, whoever beats the other one up gets $20. Now,
I have boxing gloves. Does that make me manly?
Absolutely. No. No, but that tends to be more masculine quality, right? It doesn't mean that there are not women MMA fighters who could kill me.
Right?
But anyway,
right.
I would like to just give me one punch, please. No. But all that to say is there's an active quality to that. Now, here's another story, and my wife will probably kill me for sharing this, but
well, maybe you shouldn't share it then.
Oh, I've shared it many times.
You're like, I'll ask for.
She's like, I'm not saying that to you anymore. So I bought a motorcycle.
Oh.
In August of last year. You know this story.
Yes, I do.
Right?
Yeah.
And it had been, 7 years prior, I wanted the same type of motorcycle. And I was looking at motorcycles, and she was like, babe, I'm not telling you no. Just wait. She didn't say wait 7 years. She said wait till the kids are up and out.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that
she
is
didn't want to be stuck racing them alone.
You're right, but that is a feminine quality of protection.
Yes.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah.
Right? So they moved out. Came time.
Guess what?
So I bought the motorcycle. I've been riding the motorcycle. It's all that stuff. I've had it since August. Twice she has said to me, Chris, you look good on that thing. And every guy listening is, yeah.
She meant just when you're sitting in the driveway, not when you're actually moving.
I'll go out and rev it a few times. And now we had a discussion over some glasses of wine about like, babe, help me understand that.
Yeah.
And so she thought about it and she goes, I think it's a sense of independence. It's a sense that you are your own man. Mm-hmm. It is a sense of who you are. Mm-hmm. And it's not a moral issue. It's not like, it's not immoral. I'm not stealing. I'm not gambling our money away or anything like that.
Right.
And so there's an aspect of it that frightens her, but there's an aspect she likes. And maybe part of that is because Mel. It frightens her just a touch.
Yeah.
Right. And
I get that. I get that.
And so even as you raise a boy and he does very boy things, you're like,
different. It is. And I've had to learn to like let those go.
Yes.
And that's, as a woman, that's very hard to do. You know, like my son he turned 12 at the end of April. And before that, he was allowed to ride around our neighborhood on his bike.
Right.
He was riding his bike, but he couldn't, he had parameters.
Yes.
And on his birthday, my husband removed those parameters.
Bum, bum.
And I said, just don't tell me. Just don't tell me.
True.
Don't tell me where you're going. Don't tell me what you're doing.
Yes.
Just when I say, are you alive? Text me back. Yes.
Yes.
And so that's just our rule. Like, and he goes everywhere. Like,
amazing.
Everywhere.
Right.
And it's good. And he loves it. And it's, freedom for him. And so, he feels like.
So at some point,
more manly?
At some point he's going to run into those Spider-Man moments where he's.
Okay, well, let's not talk about that. I'm not ready for that yet.
Well, again, and that's a feminine quality you have.
Yes.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
So I want to honor that, right? And I want you to honor my masculinity and not be afraid. Right? Exactly.
Thank you for honoring me. I will not honor you.
So this gets into another fundamental difference between men and women.
Okay.
And that is men tend to be more push away, vulnerability, sensitivity, and stuff like that. But then they desire connection, so they pull for it in other sometimes unhealthy ways. It's like their first instinct is to say, I'm on my own, or I don't need this, I don't want this. But then, no, I do need it. I'm not sure how to get it. That is the importance of our wives, or and if we're not married, because you don't have to be married, it is even healthy relationship with females and stuff like that, to be able to say, look, I appreciate those qualities.
Yeah.
Women are just the opposite. Mm-hmm. Women tend to be pull. In other words, they are pulling for connection and closeness, then push. In other words, when I pull this connection in and it's coming toward me, oh my gosh, I'm afraid, I don't know what to do. So then I might even in a sense back away.
Yeah. That's a really good reminder for me. I literally just had this conversation with my son this morning as we were I was like, hey, come drive, do these errands with me. And he reluctantly came, and I was like, are you mad at me? Because I feel like lately you just don't want to hang out with me. And I said, it's okay if you're mad. If you're upset, if there's something going on, if I'm irritating you, that's totally fine. Just let me know and I'll stop bugging you.
Right.
And he was just like, no, Mom, I've just been riding my bike all the time and it's been fun.
There's something I'm sensing.
But you're right. I was wanting that pull too. And he was like, no way, I'm going. I got freedom. I'm riding everywhere. And so that's a good reminder for me as a mom of a boy.
Well, and ultimately, you don't want him living with you when he's 35.
I wouldn't mind. He's really sweet.
No, you stop that. Right? Because you want him to respect himself.
Yes. No, I want him to move out when he's 18. I'm just going to live next door.
So, wow. Okay. There's the compromise, right?
There's the compromise. I'll let him go, just not that far.
So here's an aspect of masculinity, toxic masculinity, that is pandemic in our society. And that is, now, if you look at a continuum, on one end of the continuum is active man.
Okay.
And on the other end of the continuum is passive man.
Okay.
And we have an epidemic of passivity among men in our society. The life is being drained from them voluntarily, oftentimes.
Okay. Thank you for saying it that way.
right, with pornography, video games, distraction of all sorts. Okay. And potentially that could even be a product of, believe it or not, our education system. Because if our education system is primarily rewarding female attributes like relationship, sitting, listening to talking, all that stuff, the very relational, even impressing or pleasing the teacher, right? Again, this is not for every female, because some women are just like, I ain't doing that, or girls or whatever, I ain't doing that.
Right.
But a preponderance of girls do better in school than boys. And so we start these boys at school 5 years old. We demand that they sit still. If they want to, run and do all rough play, any of that, no, we can't have that.
Yeah. Well, then now let's put a label on them. Let's make them ADD.
Exactly. Now let's pill them up. And again, I got to be careful, because listen,
some of
there are so many individual stories out there. Yes. There are absolutely individual stories out there, and I want to respect that and honor that. But
you do see this more and more often.
Absolutely. Yes. And so I went over to my daughter's house, and she has my 2 grand boys. And I go out there, and they're outside, just like free reign. They're out there in the country, and they're playing with frogs and this, that, and the other. And they're just together, and it's free reign. Mm-hmm. And so she's inside, like cooking eggs or something, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they'll be out there for like an hour."
That's so cool.
Or and that's amazing to me. So our education system does not allow for that.
Right.
Right. And then when it comes to things like the trades, they've taken them away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's this huge emphasis on, well, you need to go to college, you need to do this, do that. And matriculation, or entering college right now, is, it used to be 40-60 favored toward males back in the 50s, right? And now it's completely the other way around. In some colleges, the women outnumber the men 3-1.
Wow.
So all that to say is, we have to be careful not to degrade what is masculine, but to extol a virtue of masculinity as it calls to action and protects, and it even appreciates their own individuality, right?
So what I feel like this kind of boils down to, in a sense, is don't degrade what masculinity is supposed to be.
Yes.
And don't put down a man who shows, I don't want to call them feminine qualities, but that's what they've been labeled, unfortunately.
Sensitivity.
Yeah. Who's learning his authentic self.
Yeah.
Is really what it is, right? That's having all 4 parts is our in a balance.
Yes.
Is our authentic self. Would you agree with that?
Well, so I wonder how, when you say in a balance of the 4 parts, yes. Okay, as a man, right? It's going to
be a little off balance.
Yes, totally.
So as a balance for the man, where I did say, right, the men's too, the physical, mental is over here. Yeah. The emotional and spiritual is over here, right, on the 2, and then there's this middle of the pendulum. I think with this, they're not going to be here, but it's going to be men here, and women are here, and there is still that. They're still going to have more of those 2, and we're still going to have more of those 2.
Well, and for a man to have reverence for women. Mm-hmm. In that I don't know why that got me emotional. Jeez. Mm-hmm. But, you're not going to tell. It just struck me. But that's
very manly of
that
you.
idea of, that idea of, man, I so appreciate and need that. Because I need something in you to help me access that part of me that I need to know. So back to...
Wait, as a man, though, let me ask you that. What would that mean if when you cried...
Right.
Or when any man cried, if a woman or if a man was like, well, it's so manly of you to be able to show that emotion. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a brave quality. Sure.
I mean, and if you made a boy when he's young and he cries, if instead of saying, see, now this will make me cry, if instead of telling this little voice to man up, we put our arms around him like a woman, like a mom would do.
Yes.
Like they need, and just be like, it's okay to cry.
So, yes, you're absolutely right. And I think it's age appropriate. So I think, 5 as little boys, young boys, even young men, to be able to say, okay, we're going to talk about this, we're going to hug this out, and now you've got to do something about it.
Well, yeah. We don't just sit in the emotion.
Well, that's the weakness of a lot of women.
So you're right, but that's where you get that. That's why you get the other side. That's why, again, your authentic, healthy self is the balance of both. Where I can sit in the emotion, I can cry about it, and then it's like, okay, pull up my bootstraps. Now let's move forward.
So but it, you know, a man can help you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a woman can help me access those emotional parts and yeah,
I would agree with that.
So I would say, and just as I talked about active man and passive man. So passive man leads to passive aggressive man and then aggressive man.
Okay.
So a lot of the violence I think we see now, again, there's a lot of prisons filled. There was a story years ago. I don't know if it's true or not. Sounds good. But it was the whole like Mother's Day card selling, or there was a card manufacturer that decided to sell cards at a prison on Mother's Day. Lines going out the door, craziness, sold out, all that business. They thought, hey, I'm going to do this for Father's Day. Not a one inmate showed up.
So that is one of the things they said in the Masculinity was how a father's wound is probably one of the most serious issues in this country.
Yes.
Because wounded boys become wounding men.
Yes. And so an aspect of passivity, and this is, I've been in this crusade for a while. Pornography is very passive. It's, I am at a loss or don't know or don't care to know. Could be a range of those things, how to deal with my wife. And so I go off over here. Or if you're single or not married yet, then how to engage with a woman, how to take that risk. Yeah. Right? And so I just go off over here and I do this thing. Okay. Video games are engaging on some level, but also they're kind of a shift in reality. And anything that, again, takes away your initiative is going to cause you insecurity. It's also going to cause you to, it's going to cause you to loathe yourself. Yeah. Yeah. And then that loathing, there's going to be more escape that you're seeking. And then when you can't escape, you have a sense of helplessness. And oftentimes anger is a response to helplessness. Yeah. So the aggression is actually a product of the passivity. So these poor guys in prison who don't know how to express what's going on with them. Right. Right. They know they're going without. Right. Let's go back to the pornography thing.
Can I say really quick for all the men listening? Looking at pornography is not manly.
Right.
Right? If you're high-fiving your buddies about, porn and that you watch it, that's not manly.
It's a true interaction between toxic femininity and toxic masculinity. Because there's women in those films. Right. And it's a big push in our society to say, hey, these women are being exploited. Yes, they are. Absolutely they are. But they're also exploiting themselves. And there's also a push by a lot of men to tell women, you're empowering yourself by showing your body and by sexualizing everything. They're saying you're empowering yourself. And that is such a weird thing. It's like, again, pornography is like this, it's not even sex, right? Right. I mean, sex is true interaction. Right. It's this dance. It's this understanding. And pornography is a thing. It's an object. Yep. And it turns women into objects. And it is very passive. It's very like, I don't want to try hard, so I want the path of least resistance. And to me, that's just not manly. No. Right? So And so...
And no woman thinks you're cool because you look at porn.
Actually, there's a huge, even in current rap music among women, it's again, it's almost like they've been brainwashed and manipulated to extol the virtue of appeasing these desires, right?
Well, it is. It's probably because it hurts. So it's that I can't think of the saying right now, but it hurts you so much, but no one's doing it. It's become such a epidemic and it's so big now, we might as well just jump on the bandwagon. Fine. We'll be a part of it.
And
but deep down inside it hurts.
Yes, it sure does. And it hurts it hurts men. It hurts men and women.
Yes.
And the idea that somehow becomes the new standard and that we're supposed to adopt that is just a huge shift in like, where do you go with that?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to go on that tangent.
I
just feel like it needed to be. And same with video games. Video games are cool. Doesn't make you more of a man if you can get a top score and you play video games.
Yeah, it's funny because video games do offer a type of challenge.
Yeah.
And there's this, will to power that says, I have control over this world. But the sad thing is there's also a passivity in it, in that when you walk away from it, there's nothing to show for it. You didn't build anything. You didn't create anything. You didn't, again, and I don't want to poo-poo it. I'm not against, different types of entertainment and stuff like that. It's like I go watch a movie and it's like, now I have Spider-Man fighting, not Sandman, but Vulture to reference, as far as that's concerned. But, when I walked out of there, it wasn't like, oh, look at that. I built that thing.
Well, since men love challenges, right? Men love to be challenged.
Oh yeah.
Let me challenge all you men.
Oh yeah.
To go print out a feelings wheel and get in touch with your emotions. I dare you.
Now, that is a great point because I have seen many firemen. And the joke is you will run into a burning building. You will run into a burning, because that's like, right. But then it's like you start to get them to get with their feelings and they're like, ah.
I bet if you said, oh, do you got to save this printing factory? They just printed 1 million feelings wheels. They'd probably be like, let it burn. Let it burn.
Right, exactly. But and that even gets back to the disdaining, like even that part of us, like that emotional part of us. We can't disdain that. And if you're going to make fun of a woman, it's because you disdain a quality that you maybe you don't have a skill in, or you don't. And that's a reason to admire someone, not to disdain someone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrapping up. Do you have any last thoughts, statements, questions? I think we did pretty good. We didn't. I think we did that really well.
That was awesome.
We didn't beat each other up.
Absolutely not. Yes, I love it. No, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Hey, how about you? Any other final points? I mean, it seems like we got a few minutes.
I just want to urge men with boys to not say they're sissies, to not make comments when they cry, to because younger boys, they do feel emotion.
Yes.
But then they learn to, like you said, you learn to suppress it.
Right. In a healthy way.
Not all the time.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. You learn to suppress it, and then you're like, never again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I say, maybe let your child teach you how to show emotion.
Well, and it's funny when that is a healthy thing, and there's no fear there. Oftentimes, then there's two ways to resist sort of change, right? Mm-hmm. If my wife comes to me and says, Chris, you need to be doing this and that and the other thing, I can either get angry and ramp up and be like, I can't believe you, and shut it down, and you can't grab onto that. Yeah. You can't change it. So the exact opposite is I've seen couples go through this too, where she tries to confront him and he breaks down into a ball of tears. Oh, I can't do anything right. I'm a failure. Which you can't grab onto that either. Right. So at some point in the middle is being able to say, man, this hurts to hear this. This is hard. But you know what? It's telling me something. It's actually giving me a piece of the tool that I need to grow. Yeah. And maybe that's part of the virtue of manliness is continuing to push ourselves, to challenge ourselves and grow. And one of the biggest challenges is, hey, how do I be emotional?
But that's also part of sanctification, right? That we're continuing to do and grow. So last thing, because I was Caleb and I were talking about this before
Without me?
Well, you were late. We decided we were sitting.
You were melting on the porch.
We were melting on the porch. It was very hot. We always say, do as I say, not as I do. Right?
Right.
We always say that. I say that all the time, especially when I'm giving directions, because I'll be like, go left. Wait, no. No, go right.
You can see she's pointing right and saying left.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And so, but here we say that, but in reality, our kids, adults, children, people, they're going to do as we do,
right?
Not as we say, because actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
So show your sons what manliness is. Show them the emotion. Show them that, yes, look, daddy can go be tough and do this tough thing.
Yeah.
And your son will eventually then go do the tough thing.
Right.
Don't force him into the tough thing. We can't expect our kids to be emotionally ready and have the courage that we have as an adult. I mean, this goes for girls too. We can't expect our kids to have that courage that we have when they're young. So go model it for them.
Oh,
and they
so
will
true.
learn that, and they will follow you.
And so, a true bravery and individuality is that even though the group is doing something, like show yourself someone of character and say, dude, that's not cool.
Yeah.
That's not cool. And risk that. I mean, you talk about fearful for a lot of people is to be able to say no, in integrity, I'm going to do this, but also, hey, I might say, hey, that's not cool, but I'm also going to encourage you.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to work hard and be a good example so that you're not someone that disdains me.
Yep.
Right? You're already going to feel weird about me confronting you, but I'm also not going to ridicule you for it. Yeah. I'm going to say, hey, let's do the right thing here. And totally.
Exactly.
So,
all right.
Sally forth, Christians.
We good?
Absolutely.
We good. All right. Thanks everybody for listening.
Wait, don't leave me hanging.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
I didn't see it.
Thanks for joining us today as we continue our journey talking about life's many questions.
To stay connected with us, you can follow us at Downey Park Counseling on both Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow Caroline on Instagram at Relatable Caroline. And make sure you tune in next week for our next question.